have done nothing wrong. I have done absolutely nothing wrong, officer. I promise to God on my dad's grave. My dad is deceased.
Step out of the vehicle or I will break the window.
Dear, I'm gonna give you a lawful order to step out of the vehicle. Ma'am, I'm giving you a lawful order to step out of the vehicle. Okay? Lawful order to step out of the vehicle. You're failing to provide your ID at a lawful traffic stop, which is a crime. Okay, so you can either roll the window down or I will break it. Okay. So, ma'am, you've been given plenty of opportunities here. Are you going to provide your ID? Are you going to provide your ID?
Are you serious?
Absolutely. Are you going to provide your ID?
For what? What did I do wrong?
Speeding. Speeding was the reason for the traffic stop. Are you going to provide your ID? Are you going to provide your ID? Okay. I've asked you several times. You refuse to answer. Are you going to step out of the vehicle? Are you going to step out of the vehicle? Okay, ma'am, you are now under arrest. You are under arrest for obstruction of official business and failing to provide your ID. Step out of the vehicle. Step out of the vehicle, or I will break the window. Step out of the vehicle, or I will break the window. Ma'am, I'm telling you one more time. Step out of the vehicle, or I'm going to break the window. Okay.
That sentence, that moment, that is where this entire story ends up. And trust me, you are going to want to watch every single second of what led to it, because this woman had every opportunity to walk away with nothing more than a speeding ticket. Every single opportunity, and she threw every single one of them away. But here is what makes this case so different from everything else you have seen. This was not some random sovereign citizen. This was not someone who does not know what they are doing. This woman had clearly watched her TikTok lawyer videos. She came prepared. She had her lines ready. She had her strategy locked and loaded. And when that strategy blew up in her face, and I mean completely exploded, the look on everyone's face said everything that needed to be said. Stay with me, because this breakdown is going to go deep, and I promise you, the most shocking part of this story is not the window, it is not the arrest, it is what she said after the handcuffs were already on. If you are new here and you love real footage breakdowns and police encounter analysis, do yourself a favor right now, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell. Because this channel covers the cases everyone else is afraid to touch, and we go deeper than anyone else on YouTube. If you leave without subscribing, you are going to miss the next one. And trust me, you do not want to miss the next one now.
And she pulled me out over, I asked her, and it's all of my recording on my phone. I asked her, was there any, like, how did you pull me out of the lineup out of all these people that was driving on the vehicle? I asked her, was I the only one on the road? She said, yes. I was not, officer, it was vehicles in front of me. How did you pick me out of all the people? That's what I don't understand. I was not speeding at all. I was going to the shop. That is, oh my God. I was going to the shop. I'm trying to look for a stolen car. Yeah.
Why? Your car?
Yeah, I work for a business.
Who do you work for?
For Marriott Rental Cars right down the street, and I was going there to put information so that I could have in the system.
So I guess the whole thing is, ma'am, if she said she got you speeding,
she did not.
You can't say that. You don't know how these machines work. You don't know how they.
And that's the thing. I was not speeding. That's the funny part about it. I was not speeding. Why would I speed?
That's not something that we debate on the side of the road. If that's how you feel, then that's something you got to go to court for. And
that's fine. I'll just go to court for that. I'll go to court first. I'll just go to court.
If she says that she had you speeding and she writes you a ticket, you still have to give her your information and go that route.
I asked to speak to a manager. I asked to speak to a supervisor. She, and then I don't know. He's a sergeant. The African American one. Them two had pulled up, and I asked to speak to a supervisor. They was like, okay, well, he's on his way. And then he broke the glass and everything for no reason. All I said was, let me speak to a supervisor. You didn't have to go to that extent to do all this extra stuff.
Calling other people to come here and everything else.
The owner. That's the owner. Oh my God. I called the owner. I'm scared. You guys are.
Did you ever give them your information?
I didn't, because I didn't understand what.
I mean,
but listen,
you gotta look at it this way.
But listen,
you were being uncooperative with them from the
how am I being uncooperative?
If you get pulled over by the police and you're
but
driving
I didn't
vehicle,
even do anything.
You're talking over me. You're required to show them your driver's
Why am I required? I don't have rights. Where's my rights at then?
Well,
so I don't have rights.
If you're part of a traffic, I'm not saying you don't have rights. I'm saying you are required to provide information.
And you're the supervisor.
I
can't wait for this all to be on documentation.
Okay, that's fine. I mean, It's like driver's ed 101 that you're required to show your driver's license when you get pulled over on a traffic stop. Are we done talking? Have a good day.
That's funny that y'all could do all this, but y'all can't find a stolen car that I've been looking for. Tuh.
We just found a different stolen car today.
We're just too busy.
Was it a Jeep Cherokee?
Yeah.
Was it a Jeep Cherokee?
No.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm looking for. A Jeep Cherokee that's reported stolen. I have documentations that it's stolen. That's why you see that contract in the vehicle.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, I don't know if you've been informed yet. I already told you you're under arrest, but you're also going to be going to Summit County Jail today. Is there anything in your purse that would be considered contraband? Any marijuana, anything like that? Or tobacco products?
Not that I'm aware of. That's the owner right there.
The owner of the vehicle?
Yes. I work for a rental car company.
Oh, I gotcha.
And I have done nothing wrong. I'm trying to tell you, I did not do anything wrong.
You did fail to provide your ID after being...
But I did not do... How did I... She didn't even verify me speeding. I wasn't... That's the funny part.
That's that's what court's for.
But I did not... I was not even speeding. That's the crazy part.
And that's what court's for.
I was not even
speeding. If you weren't
speeding.
speeding and she can't prove it beyond a reasonable doubt, then you can't be convicted of speeding. But out here on the streets is not where we can argue those things.
This is crazy. Can you at least get my keys that's in the vehicle and put it with my belongings?
They got like your house keys on them?
Yes.
Yeah, let me grab them.
Could you at least look for that Jeep that I'm looking for? To check these cameras?
I promise you, dear, if it's stolen and if we have a list of vehicles we all actively look for.
Because I noticed when I called the detectives yesterday and spoke with the detectives, they were saying that it was like pinging off a copy, like through the cameras.
Oh, yeah, probably, yeah. It's just about a matter of time till we find it.
What's your head?
You going to stab again?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, all this could have been avoided. It was a speeding ticket.
I wasn't even speeding, so
Created all of this.
I'll fight you in court, that's all.
Let us go back to the beginning, because that is where the first red flag shows up. August 13th, 2024. It is a Tuesday morning. The sun is up. Traffic is moving, and somewhere on that road, a single vehicle is clocking in at 53 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. That is not 5 over. That is not 10 over. That is 18 miles per hour over the speed limit. That is not a grey area. That is not radar error territory. That is a clear, documented, undeniable traffic infraction. The officer initiates the stop, pulls the vehicle over, approaches with a standard greeting, professional, calm routine. And that is exactly when the driver decides that nothing about this stop is going to be routine. Good morning, the speed limit here is 35 and you were doing 53. Simple, clear, factual. Now here is where you need to pay attention. Because the driver's very first response, the very first words out of her mouth, tell you everything about how the next 15 minutes are going to go. She does not say, "I am sorry, officer." She does not say, "I did not realize." She does not even say, "Are you sure?" No. Her very first move is this: "How did you pick me out of all the people?" That is what I do not understand. Pause on that for a second. She is not disputing the speed. She is not asking to see the radar. She is not even processing the stop. Her first instinct, her immediate, almost rehearsed response, is to challenge the officer's selection process, not the evidence. The selection, that is a very specific move. And if you have seen enough of these videos, and I know you have, you know exactly what kind of driver does that. She has watched the videos, she knows the talking points. She has done the TikTok research, and she is about to deploy every single line she has memorized. And I need you to drop a comment right now. I am serious. Drop it right now. Before we go any further, what would you have done in this situation? If you got pulled over for speeding and you genuinely believed you were not going 53, what is your first move? Talk to me in the comments. This is about to get very interesting. The officer remains composed. She asks for the driver's license and insurance. Standard, legal required. The driver's response? She wants to know if she can see the camera footage. She wants to see the radar reading. She wants documentation on the side of the road during a live traffic stop. Can you show me? I want to see the camera now. And here is the thing, and this is something a lot of people get wrong. Officers are not legally required to show you their radar equipment on the side of the road. That is not how it works. That is not the process. If you want to challenge the reading, that challenge happens in court, with documentation, with subpoenas, with legal process. Not on the curb at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday. But this driver either does not know that or does not care. And what she says next is the moment everything starts to shift. Can I speak to your supervisor? There it is.
Are you the supervisor?
I am.
And what's your name?
Sergeant McDonald.
I have done nothing wrong. I have done absolutely nothing wrong, officer.
The supervisor request, the move, the TikTok special. The go-to strategy that, in theory, sounds like it should slow everything down, buy times, create bureaucratic friction, and maybe, just maybe, make the officer back off. Except here is what the TikTok lawyers forgot to tell her. Requesting a supervisor does not suspend your legal obligations. It does not pause the traffic stop. It does not make your requirement to provide identification disappear. You do not get to put the entire encounter on hold while you escalate up the chain of command. That is not how law enforcement works. That is not how any of this works. The officer does not flinch, does not argue, does not get emotional. She simply calls it in. My speeder is requesting a supervisor, and she goes right back to asking for the ID. Now here is where something subtle, something most people watching this completely miss, starts to happen. And I need you to pay close attention because this detail becomes absolutely critical later. The driver keeps asking for the supervisor. The officer keeps asking for the ID. Neither one of them is moving, and in that standoff, in that complete communication breakdown, something is being built, charge by charge, second by second, without the driver even realizing it. If you are still watching and you have not subscribed yet, I need you to understand something. This is completely free, one tap, that is all it takes. And you will never miss a breakdown like this again. Hit that subscribe button right now, do it while you are thinking about it. Because here is what I have learned about people who watch these videos and leave without subscribing. They always come back looking for the next case and they cannot find the channel. Do not do that to yourself. Subscribe now. Back to the road, another officer arrives, then another. The scene starting row. And now we have this remarkable moment. Two officers standing outside this car, speaking to each other like the driver is not even there. And what they are saying is more revealing than anything the driver has said so far. She refused to give me her ID. She started requesting a supervisor from the start. What did you give her a ticket? I haven't even given one yet. Let that settle in. She has not even been given a ticket yet. The officer had not even gotten to that part. All she needed was the ID. One document, 30 seconds, and this entire situation would have been over. Maybe with a ticket, maybe with a warning. But over, done, and everyone goes home. Instead, we are now at multiple officers, a supervisor request, and a growing crowd. Over an ID, one of the officers makes a comment that catches my attention. He glances at the car, and remember, this is a rental vehicle, and he quietly starts running the ps, checking the system. Because at this point, without an ID, without any information from the driver, the officers have to start building the picture themselves. And then, quietly, almost under his breath, one of the officers says something that sends a chill down my spine when I first heard it. Tell you, she was a sovereign person. One of those. Now I want to be careful here because I am not saying this driver is a sovereign citizen. There is no evidence of that in this video. But what that comment tells you is something critically important. The officers are reading behavioral patterns. They are trained to recognize specific tactics. And what they are seeing from this driver is triggering something in their pattern recognition that is making them shift their approach. Because here is the truth, and this is uncomfortable, but it is real. There is a specific playbook, a set of tactics that circulates online. Videos that tell people how to handle traffic stops by refusing ID, demanding supervisors, citing specific codes, and recording everything. And those tactics, when applied incorrectly, do not protect you. They escalate the situation. They create legal exposure that would not have existed otherwise. And this driver is about to learn that lesson in the hardest possible way. What do you think? Did she go into this with a strategy, or do you think this was genuine confusion? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what you actually think. The window stays up, the door stays closed, the ID stays hidden, and now something critical happens. Something that changes the entire legal landscape of this traffic stop. One of the officers approaches the window and speaks directly to the driver. I want you to also understand that by refusing to give your ID, you will be subject to arrest and you will go to jail if that is what you are waiting for. You can be arrested for not providing your ID. That is not a bluff. That is not intimidation. That is a legal fact. And in that moment, in that single warning, the officer has given this driver one last exit ramp. One final opportunity to end this without handcuffs, without a tow truck, without a criminal charge. And for just a moment, just a brief, flickering moment, it seems like it might work. She lowers her window, just a crack, just enough to talk. "I will provide my ID," the officer responds calmly. Asks her to keep her hands visible. She has one hand recording, the other goes to the steering wheel. And for about 30 seconds, 30 beautiful, quiet seconds, it looks like this is going to resolve peacefully. But then, something shifts. The ID does not come. The window does not come all the way down. The driver starts asking questions again, starts pushing back. The window goes back up. And you can hear it in the officers' voices, that quiet, almost resigned shift from patience to procedure, because at a certain point, a traffic stop is no longer about the speed. It is no longer about the ticket. It is about a lawful command that has been issued and refused, and that changes everything. I have to pause here because I know some of you are watching this and thinking, okay, but was she really wrong? And I want to be honest with you. Yes, she was wrong. Not because the officer was automatically right about the speed, not because the system is perfect. She was wrong because even if you are innocent, even if you were not speeding, even if the radar was off by 10 miles per hour, the side of the road is not where you argue that case. The courtroom is. And getting to that courtroom requires cooperating with the stop first. You cannot fight a ticket from a jail cell, and you definitely cannot fight it when your car is being towed. But that is exactly where this is heading, and the next 3 minutes of footage are genuinely hard to watch. If you are finding this breakdown valuable, and I can tell you are because you are still here, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. It takes 1 second. It tells the algorithm that this content matters, and it helps this channel reach more people who deserve to see these breakdowns. Like, subscribe, let us keep going. The supervisor arrives. But not in the way the driver expected, not as a savior, not as someone who is going to look at this situation with fresh eyes and say, you know what, let us all take a breath here. No, the supervisor arrives to a scene that has already deteriorated far beyond a routine speeding stop. And the supervisor's first words are directed not at the driver, but at the officers. He is being briefed. He is seeing the situation. He is reading the same behavioral patterns his officers were reading, and the tone in his voice, calm, measured, but absolute, tells you everything. But before the supervisor can even finish getting the full picture, the situation explodes. Because while the briefing is happening, while the window is still up, while the ID is still not provided, the officers make a decision. This stop is over. Not because they are giving up. Not because the driver won, but because refusing to provide identification at a lawful traffic stop is a crime. And at a certain point, allowing someone to simply not comply, to simply sit in a car with a window up and refuse to acknowledge lawful orders, is not an option. The officer approaches the window. Ma'am, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to give you a lawful order. Step out of the vehicle. Nothing. This is a lawful order to step out of the vehicle. Nothing. You are failing to provide your ID at a lawful traffic stop, which is a crime. You can either roll the window down or I will break it. And here is the moment. The moment that the title of this video was built around. The moment that makes your stomach drop even when you know it is coming. Because she still does not move. Ma'am, you have been given plenty of opportunities here. Are you going to provide your ID? Silence. Are you going to step out of the vehicle? Silence. You are now under arrest. You are under arrest for obstruction of official business and failure to provide your ID. Step out of the vehicle. Step out of the vehicle, or I will break the window. And then, the window shatters. I want you to sit with what just happened, because I think a lot of people watch that moment and feel one of two things, either that went too far or that was completely inevitable. And I am going to give you both sides, because that is what this channel does. From the officer's perspective, this was a textbook escalation of force. Every de-escalation tool was used. verbal commands, supervisor request honored, multiple warnings, a specific clear statement of consequences. The window was the last resort after every option was exhausted. From the driver's perspective, she was terrified. And whether or not you agree with her choices, I think that is important to acknowledge. The moment that glass broke, you can hear it in her voice. The genuine shock, the panic, the feeling of something crossing a line she did not think would actually be crossed. Oh my God! I didn't do anything wrong. Oh my God! And she says that over and over. I want to tell you something about that, because it matters. She genuinely believes it. She is not performing. She is not putting on a show for the camera. In her mind, in her reality, she did not do anything wrong. She was looking for a stolen car. She was going to work. She asked for a supervisor. That is all she did. And that gap, that enormous, devastating gap between her reality and the legal reality, is what makes this case so heartbreaking and so important to understand. Because here is what a lot of people do not talk about when they break down these videos. The people in them are real. Their fear is real. Their confusion is real. And the consequences are absolutely real. She is now under arrest. Her car is being towed. She is being walked to a patrol car with her hands behind her back. And she is still saying, "I did not do anything wrong." If this breakdown is making you think, if it is making you feel something, then you are exactly the kind of viewer this channel was built for. Hit that subscribe button. This is what we do here every single week. Real footage, real analysis, real conversation. Subscribe, join this community. You will not regret it. And now is where the story takes a turn that nobody talks about in the clips. Because the clips end at the broken window, the clips end at the arrest. But the real story keeps going. Because after the handcuffs go on, after the car is secured, after the dust settles, the supervisor shows up to have a conversation with the driver. And that conversation is one of the most revealing things in this entire incident. Sergeant McDonald, calm, professional, patient in a way that almost makes you forget what just happened 30 seconds ago. He listens. He actually listens. And the driver, hands cuffed, mascara running, voice cracking, starts telling her story. She was not just driving, she works for a rental car company. She was going to her workplace to enter information about a stolen vehicle, a Jeep Cherokee. She had been on the phone with detectives. She had documentation. She had a contract in the car. She was trying to recover a stolen car, and she ended up getting arrested on the way there. And here is where I need you to really think carefully. Does that change anything? Does having a legitimate reason for being on that road, does working for a rental car company, does trying to recover a stolen vehicle, does any of that change the legal obligation to provide your ID at a traffic stop? No, it does not, and Sergeant McDonald says exactly that in the kindest, most direct way possible. Ma'am, if she said she got you speeding, you still have to give her your information and go that route. Simple. Clear. Correct. And then he says something that I think is the most important line in this entire video. The line that every single person who watches this needs to hear. This is Driver's Ed 101. You are required to show your driver's license when you get pulled over on a traffic stop. Driver's Ed 101, not constitutional law, not a complicated legal grey area. Driver's Ed 101. Now here is what nobody is talking about, and this is the part that I have been building to since the very beginning. This driver was not stupid. This driver was not reckless. She was not trying to break the law. She watched videos, she educated herself, or she thought she did, and the education she got was wrong, dangerously wrong. In a way that cost her a day in jail, a criminal charge, a towed rental car, and a criminal record that she now has to go to court to fight. The TikTok legal advice pipeline, and I say this with full seriousness, is one of the most dangerous things happening in the legal space right now, because it gives people just enough information to feel confident and not nearly enough information to stay safe. It tells people to demand supervisors without explaining that demanding a supervisor does not pause your legal obligations. It tells people to record everything, which is actually good advice, without explaining that recording does not protect you from arrest when you refuse lawful commands. It gives people the vocabulary of rights without the understanding of how those rights actually function within a legal framework, and people end up in exactly this situation. Convinced they are protected, discovering they are not. I am not saying do not know your rights. Know your rights, absolutely know your rights. But know all of them. Know the obligations that come with those rights. Know the difference between what works in a courtroom and what works on the side of the road. Because those two things are not the same. Let me ask you something directly. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought you knew your rights and found out you were wrong? Or maybe you did know your rights and it actually helped you. Tell me in the comments. Real talk. This community is worth having that conversation with. Let us go back to that conversation with the sergeant. Because there are things in it that most breakdowns completely skip over. The driver keeps coming back to one specific thing. One thing that clearly matters more to her than anything else. How did the officer pick it out of all the cars on the road? She says it over and over. There were cars in front of me. How did she pick me? It is clearly the thing she cannot let go of. The thing that feels most unjust to her. The thing that, in her mind, proves something was wrong. And I want to address that directly, because it is a legitimate question. How does radar targeting work? How does an officer select a specific vehicle from a flow of traffic? Here is the honest answer. Modern police radar is directional and can be focused on specific vehicles even within a traffic flow. Officers are trained to target specific vehicles and document which vehicle in a grouping they clocked. The fact that there were cars in front of her does not mean she was not the one going 53. It means she was the fastest vehicle the officer identified. That is how enforcement works. Now, could she be right? Could there have been a targeting error? Technically, yes, that is possible. It is rare, but it is possible. And if that is the case, if she was genuinely not going 53, then she had a legal avenue, court, with documentation, with a request for the radar calibration records, with her own evidence. But she will never know now, because she did not take the exit ramp, she got arrested instead. And now her case has so many additional charges stacked on top of the original speeding allegation that the speeding question almost does not even matter anymore. That is the tragedy here. That is the real lesson. And if you are watching this and shaking your head, if you are thinking, how do people not know this? Then please share this video, send it to someone who needs to see it. Because this is not entertainment. This is genuinely important information that can change how someone handles their next traffic stop. Share it, subscribe. Let us build something real here. There is one more moment I need to walk you through. Because it happens after the supervisor conversation, after the arrest is confirmed, after the charges are laid out and it is quiet. And it is raw, and it is the most human moment in this entire video. She is standing outside the patrol car, hands cuffed behind her. And she starts talking, not to the officers, not to anyone specific, just talking. Out loud, I'm not a bad person, I'm not a bad person at all. I don't deserve this. And then I was just going to the shop, that's all I was doing. And then I didn't even do anything. I was just asking for a supervisor. And you can hear it, the complete disconnection between what happened and what she believes happened. She is not lying, she genuinely does not understand. And that is not weakness, that is not stupidity. That is the result of going into a high-pressure, rapidly escalating situation with incomplete information and a strategy that was designed for a different kind of encounter than the one she found herself in. The window breaking was not the moment things went wrong. The window breaking was the result of a series of decisions, all of which felt justified in the moment, all of which made perfect sense to her that led to an outcome she never saw coming. And that is the most important thing I can tell you about this case, about all of these cases. The people in them are not villains, they are not heroes. They are human beings making decisions in real time with imperfect information and real consequences. Remember that the next time you are watching one of these videos. Remember it the next time you see someone doing something on camera and think, I would never do that. Because you do not know what you would do until you are in that seat. Until the lights are flashing, until your heart is pounding, until someone is asking you for something and every instinct in your body is telling you that something is wrong. The question is not what you would do differently. The question is whether you know enough to do it differently. So what happened to her? She was charged with obstruction of official business and failure to provide identification. She was transported to the county jail. Her rental car, a vehicle that belonged to her employer, was towed. The Documentation she had for the stolen Jeep Cherokee she was trying to recover was in that car. Her employer showed up on scene, the owner of the rental car company, trying to understand what happened, watching their employee get put in a patrol car over a traffic stop. And in a moment of almost cinematic irony, Sergeant McDonald tells the group that they actually recovered a stolen vehicle earlier that same day. Not the Jeep Cherokee she was looking for. A different one. But still, there is something deeply strange about the officer who arrested her, telling her that his department is actively recovering the kind of vehicle she was trying to track down. The world is strange, and sometimes the most complicated situation starts with the simplest things: a speed limit, a radar gun, and a choice. She has her day in court. Or she had it. And whatever happened there, that is where the speeding question gets its answer. Not on the side of the road, not in a window-breaking confrontation, in front of a judge, with evidence, with documentation, the way it was always supposed to go. I want to leave you with something, not a lesson exactly, more of a question. There is a version of this story that ends completely differently. There is a version where the window stays up, the officer walks away, and that is that. There is a version where she hands over the ID, gets a ticket, and fights it in court 2 weeks later. There is a version where the supervisor shows up, listens to her story, and the whole thing gets handled in a way that feels fair. None of those versions happened. And the reason none of those versions happened has nothing to do with the radar gun, and nothing to do with the speed limit, and nothing to do with the supervisor. It has everything to do with a single moment, the very first response she gave when that officer said good morning, the moment she chose her strategy, the moment she decided what kind of stop this was going to be. You set the tone for your own encounters. That is not victim blaming. That is not saying the system is perfect. It is just the truth. And the truth matters even when it is uncomfortable. What do you think? Was there a moment in this video where you think things could have been saved? A specific choice, a specific second, where a different decision changes the whole outcome. Tell me exactly when that moment was. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if you made it this far, if you have been with me through this entire breakdown, then you already know this channel is worth your time. Hit that subscribe button right now. Not later. Now. Because the next case is coming, and it is even more intense than this one. You are going to want to be here for it. Subscribe, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And I will see you in the next one, because situations like this one, they do not always end this way. Some of them end much, much worse. And the next case I am covering, I have been sitting on it for 2 weeks because I needed to figure out how to even talk about it. The footage is real, the outcome is shocking, and the moment that changes everything is something that none of the officers saw coming. You are going to want to be subscribed for that one. I will see you there.